Okay, yes. We can hear you now.
Let me just set this thing. I don't know. I think we have to start again because all the time I was speaking, I thought I was being heard.
Okay, but we are very clear now, so we can just start again by responding to the question.
When I hear the word power, I'm thinking of different dynamics in agenda, in the gender context that we work within in our work. Because we know that men and women, the situation between men and women when it comes to gender equality has something to do with the power dynamics between the men and women. And within our communities and within our society, we see that the past tradition has been made it. It's not that the power imbalance is what causes gender inequality in our communities, in our workplaces, and in our homes. So when I hear the word power, I feel that it has something to do with power. It just has something to do with how can we relate the issues of power with if we want to transform gender to the system, we transform gender so that we can have a gender equity.
Mama Lydia, we're having challenge with picking what you're saying. I think it's the network or something.
Another place where somebody else answers. Excuse me, can I try to put out my internet? I don't know what.
Okay, all right. Yes, I'm sure it's the network. Okay, we'll just move to Alice if
somebody
Alice is ready. I don't know if my sister Anne Maria will want to take that in French, but it's the same question to Alice, which is what is your understanding of the concept of power width, and how important is that for the pursuit of gender equality? If Alice is on ground, you can just please respond.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Alice.
Yeah, let me try to answer this in English because I know in French you are very lost.
It's okay.
So,
I can do a translation in French, in English. It's okay, you can express yourself in French if you're capable with it, and I'm gonna try to make it in short in English. It's okay.
Alice is going to try English and to make it much easier for all of us.
Okay, let me try. For the first question about the power wave in the context of gender equality, for me, it means to have the same goal, to have to be engaged in society and bring a part about power in gender equality context. I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
Have the same vision and not be just be involved and engaged for having a same vision and same goal, to have the same purpose about gender equality in society.
Well, thanks so much, Alice. Again, that brings up the point that Mama Lydia made, even though we couldn't hear everything she said. She indeed mentioned the issue of power imbalance between the gender identities. And that appeared to be cutting through our topic for today. It would be very lovely if we could pick everything Mama Lydia will have to say, especially to extend that point that she has started making. Otherwise, I would like for Aunt Maria, if you want to take in French for any French speaker, to also attempt the same question.
Et je pense que Alice et Emily peuvent m'entendre bien en français. Et je vous demande de vous exprimer en français. même si vous parlez l'anglais, je pense que ça ne vous sera pas très difficile de bien mêler vos points, vos idées en anglais. Et c'est par ça que je vous demande de répondre à la première question. Il est en français disant, comment est-ce que vous entendez ce concept power with or avec pouvoir dans vos explications? Comment est-ce que vous entendez le concept de avec pouvoir?
Ok, bon, peut-être je peux dire en français. Le concept pouvoir avec,
Yes.
pour moi, c'est avoir peut-être apporté une part de tout un chacun sur les questions du gender equality. Avoir quand même comprendre tout d'abord ce que c'est sur le gender equality et avoir quelque chose. Si on a un pouvoir avec, c'est que c'est toi, tu as la solution d'apporter sur ce contexte. Non pas être à l'extérieur, être parmi les personnes, comment dirais-je. Donc, que ça ne te regarde pas, que pour toi, ça ne sert rien. Mais si tu as ce concept à voir avec, c'est qu'il y a vraiment une conviction que tu as une part à apporter sur les questions du gender equality. Je ne sais pas si je fais comprendre.
Oui, ça se comprend. Ça veut dire que tu as le pouvoir d'amener une solution à un problème.
Et être engagé.
Oui.
Donc, pour avoir une bonne compréhension au niveau communautaire, donc au niveau de la société, et apporter quelque chose. Donc, ne pas être loin de ça, mais bon, power in.
Yes. Ok, merci Alice. Donc, tu veux dire, les hommes et les garçons ont le pouvoir. Ils peuvent l'utiliser pour amener des solutions aux problèmes de gender equality.
Donc, ne pas montrer que c'est pour les femmes seulement, donc gender equality, c'est pour les femmes seulement, mais il faut qu'on y ait l'implication des hommes.
Ah oui? Travailler ensemble avec, avoir une même vision, avoir des objectifs communs.
Exactement.
Etc. Ok, merci. Je t'ai compris. Alors, je voudrais aussi demander à Emily si elle peut s'exprimer en français ou si elle se sent capable de s'exprimer en anglais. Je suis d'accord, mais Emily, je voudrais aussi, te demander, comment est-ce que tu entends le concept de pouvoir avec? Donc, est-il important de l'utiliser dans le chemin vers réaliser gender equality?
Translate.
Emily?
Thanks, Angie. For the benefit of the English speaking, someone on the chat box is asking for a bit of translation. If you can just help us summarize what we got so that we can set proper background for our discourse this morning. Just a brief summary. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Then Alice was saying the power with concept is like she was saying men and boys have power. They can use their power to be engaged, to work with women activism towards achieving the gender equality agenda. It's not, she was saying men should not consider themselves achieving gender equality being the burden for women and girls. No. It's a common issue, it's a societal issue. Then everyone, men and boys, women and girls, should work together with a common vision, with common objectives, and they work together toward achieving the gender equality agenda. That was what she was saying in summary.
Okay, thanks so much, Angie. We're still following the perspectives put on the table so far from Mama Lydia. She has brought up the issue of power imbalance, which is very strategic to this discussion. And so far, I've heard a lot about collaboration from what Angie explained. I would like to hear from Emily, still setting a backdrop for this discussion. The same question, what's your understanding of power width, and how important is that to achieving gender equality? If Emily is on ground, I would like to hear from you.
Thank you, Paul. In continuation with some of the ideas that the other panelists have already contributed, my understanding of power width is working together with men and boys to push for gender equality. Why do I say working together? Because gender equality or gender respect is something that has been carried out a lot by feminists, especially the female feminists. And we have had a lot of resistance come where men think that we are trying to come to seize power from them or seize their positions that they had been given by maybe cultural powers or structural systems that put men at the top. So power is a new concept that tries to bring into a conversation or bring both parties together, such that in decision-making processes, in programs, in even at the level of families, both the needs of the male and the female are considered, and nobody is left behind because maybe of systems, of structural systems that have been put in place, but the needs are equal, irrespective of if it's a man or a woman. So Power Week is that platform or is that concept that tries to bring an equality with the powers. Like, okay, most of what we have seen is when we ask for gender equality, we have quotas like women should have 30% representation in key decision-making processes. But when they're in these positions, up to 30%, are their needs met equally? Is it that when the needs are being put in place, the needs are looked at for both men and women at 50-50? Or is it that men still come and dominate? Because that's the situation we face a lot. There's resistance when it comes to women's needs, women's rights. So Power Week is creating that platform where there's collaboration, connection, and also the respect of the fact that the needs of each party is supposed to be equal and not minimized. It has to be equal and then respected. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Emily, for that very explicit one, which will lead us stylishly to the second question. You mentioned the issue of resistance, and that will lead us to the second one. I would love for Mama Lydia to help us out with this.
Okay.
Now, the concepts of power width. The question is, how would it help us articulate very clearly the role of men and boys in the quest for gender equality? How has this been engaged so far, and what is the reaction from men and boys as regards the concept of power width? If I'm clear, I would love for Lydia to lead us in this.
Okay, I'm going to try. And am I better now? Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm better now and you can hear me.
Fantastic. I can hear you very clearly.
Okay. Now, the way that men and boys are socialized right from the time when they are young, they've grown up under in a setting where men know themselves, men and boys, where boys know, boys and young men know that the man is supposed to be more powerful than the woman, and the girl and the woman. So the way they socialize right from childhood is the way that they are actually reacting and the way they're responding. So when it comes to talking about power imbalance, the first thing is to, first of all, get the men and boys to realize that they do exude more power, and that's how they'll be socialized. But right now, they need to know that that excessive power is going to create a negative reaction towards the other gender, the women and girls. That's why in our work that we have done so far, we have tried very hard to discuss the plan and give the realization to the men and boys, that to boys and men, that that the way they socialize is not the way that they should continue living and working. This is not the situation that should continue in order to have gender equality. So we've had a lot of pushback right from the beginning from the women's rights organizations which I belong to, because they do not see that we are going to make any change. So I think it begins first of all with attitude change. We need to do a lot of sensitization. It begins with attitude change. It needs realization, inner realization from men and boys to understand that that there is power imbalance. The scale is tipped towards their side when it comes to power. So, in order not to provide any negative negative kickbacks from men and from boys and men, there's a way that we've got to introduce. We have been trying to introduce this topic by letting them know that the other gender is as important. The other gender needs respect. The other gender needs dignity, and so women and girls need as much dignity, and things have got to change in order to have a gender equitable environment. We need to change first of all the attitude. Then we need to change some of the things that have been existing, some of the laws, the way that the behaviors. So it has something to do with behavioral change, attitude change. It has got something to do with sitting together with having dialogue and sitting on a round table. But also the way that many people have seen men and boys negatively, knowing that, in most cases where there's been abuse of the power that exists between men and boys, the boys and men have been perpetrators. So I think it needs something to do with sitting together, realizing the root causes, and trying to change by dialogue, by understanding each other. It takes time to understand the differences between men and boys and girls and women. So we are thinking that partnership building is one of the most critical things that we've tried to do, and that's what we want to do. We want to have this dialogue where men know that we want them to be our partners in all the work that we're doing. We want them to realize the injustices that have happened in the past, that are still happening. We need them to know that we need them to get, and there's also been peer pressure, which we have been working on, and saying that, it's not that a man has to be strong, a man has got to listen to what his friends are telling him. So there's that issue of machoism, I call it machoism, and chauvinistic behavior that we have to deal with. But the only way we can deal with it is by understanding each other, coming to a realization that sometimes it's not of their own making, but it's the way that they've been socialized, and their cultures, the cultural and the cultural norms that have existed in the past have to change. So I believe that there can be a middle ground, and I believe that when it comes to power, the middle ground can be sought by having this transformation in some of the behaviors that have happened in the past, but also allowing for women to understand where men are coming, boys and men are coming from, and the power dynamics have changed a lot, and in the past, and we can see that there's a change. Transforming gender norms is a critical thing that has to happen in order to sort out the power imbalanced power. Thank you. These are just a few of the things that I can see.
Thanks so much, Mama Lydia. A quick one. I picked up the issue of socializing, the way the men and boys were socialized, which may have resulted to the power imbalance. And now we are here. You also brought up the need for attitudinal change, which is also very important. But before I bring in Angie Maria to do the French version for our French-speaking participants. I would like for Mama Lydia to touch on a part that was left out in the second question, which is how are men and boys, women and girls reacting to the concept of power with?
Okay, let me just try. To be honest with you, the reaction has not been very good from the feminist side, because all along they said the privilege boys and men have had privileges and still have privilege, and there's been a lot of suspicion. Why is it bringing up these issues of men and boys? There's been a lot of issues of competition. There's been a lot of issues of what is the end game of all this talk about engaging men and boys and sitting down with them around the table. But at the same time, there have been some positive changes. Now I'm talking from the women's side first, then probably I'll come to the men's side. Now there's been changes. When we talk to our girls and women, we've tried our level best to explain that this is not about trying to empower men, because we're not trying to talk about empowerment of men. We're not trying to say that now we are accepting the privilege and the behavior and the attitudes of men. We are trying to say that we need to come together to dialogue together. We need to understand each other. We need to understand where all these social norms have come from, and we need to understand the root cause, but we need to sit together to try to get to transform gender norms in order to have gender equality. Coming from the men's side, the reaction has been very, very good. Of course, the men have also been slow in coming up in accepting that they need to change their power relations, because they know very well that from long ago, the power imbalance has been tipped on their side, and men have been known to be more stronger, more dominant, more powerful. But they're starting to realize that it has been affecting the lives of their own close allies and partnerships with women and girls. So I'm seeing a very positive reaction on the side of the men, that they are coming forward, that they're trying to reach out to women and girls to see how they can work together. So it's been very positive. There's been a good positive response, not with everybody. And I think it takes time to understand. The men are not understanding, why is it now that you're starting to talk about our power? We know we're the most powerful. We know we're the dominant. We know we are supposed to make decisions. But they're starting to realize, right, after good engagement with them, that now I think we need that the world needs to have gender equality. We need to be equitable, that everything needs to be, the power needs to be divided between women and girls and us as men and boys. And it's been positive. I haven't seen any negative reaction, maybe because I've been in this field for so long and I see that things are changing. And now we've come to a point where in every fora where there used to be only, where women used to sit alone and discuss their issues, how they need to be empowered, how women empathy, that things are changing and they're engaging the men now. And now we at least at dialogue stage and we can talk. Thank
you. Hello.
Thanks so much. I think Angie Maria can do a translation, but I understand that Eden is on the line and is a speaker as well, would like to engage. But for now, Angie Maria can just come in with the French translation of this second question so that we can get the input from our French speaking speaker as well. Angie?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, I tried to add something about Lydia Speaks. And Ange, you can translate for me because I have a good idea in French. Okay?
Oh, yes. Alice, je peux t'aider?
Oui. Donc, j'ai bien compris la question.
Oui, je peux t'aider.
Oui.
Est-ce que tu l'as bien compris en anglais ou je peux...
Bon, ok,
en
tu peux
français.
dire. Oui, oui, tu peux dire en français. Moi, je peux te répondre en français.
Oh oui. Alors, notre deuxième question est demande. Dans la première question, tu nous as dit que tu as le concept du pouvoir avec qu'on travaille ensemble, avoir des objectifs communs et pour l'intérêt de tous.
Yes.
Et maintenant, la deuxième question vient en demandant, est-ce que tu peux nous conseiller d'utiliser le concept du pouvoir avec pour progresser en définissant le rôle du sexe masculin en réalisant le gender equality? Est-ce que le concept du pouvoir avec comment a été mis en pratique dans les années précédentes?
Ok, j'ai bien compris la question.
Oui.
J'ai bien saisi ce que Madame Lydia vient de dire. Ce que j'ai accordé, c'est quoi? En fait, le problème, ça commence dans nos familles. Parce que dans les familles, on grandit en nous montrant complètement que les garçons et les filles ont une grande différence. OK? Tu comprends, moi?
Oui, je te comprends.
Oui. Donc, on grandit avec cette mentalité de voir les garçons font ça et les filles font ça. Donc, en nous montrant qu'il y a une grande différence. Le problème jusqu'à présent, c'est quoi? On grandit avec cette mentalité et en étant grand, si on voit le problème de gender equality, donc il y a une grande différence et il n'y a pas l'implication des garçons parce que dès le bas âge, il n'est pas impliqué. Tu comprends jusque-là?
Oui, je te comprends.
Donc, jusqu'à présent, le rôle. Comment est-ce qu'on peut avoir un power with dans les années prochaines? Donc, il faudra commencer à conscientiser nos parents, de prendre les enfants de la même façon et montrer que les hommes sont nos partenaires. Non pas les montrer qu'on est trop petit que les garçons. Donc, en grandissant avec cette mentalité, c'est un grand problème jusqu'à présent. Donc, on vit comme ça et jusqu'à quand? Il faudra d'abord commencer à la maison dès le bas âge en nous montrant ce genre de gender equality. Donc, en nous montrant que le travail des garçons, c'est la même chose que le travail des filles. Et donc, en grandissant avec cette mentalité, donc ça peut aider. Ça peut aider dans ce contexte de gender equality.
Et tu nous conseilles d'avoir des dialogues premièrement en famille?
Yeah.
En expliquant nos parents que même le garçon et la fille ont des droits communs, ils ont le même droit. Ok, merci. Et la deuxième question, quelles ont été les réactions sur le même point, au genre masculin et au genre féminin, sur ce contexte du pouvoir avec?
Les réactions.
Pour être bien clair, donc dans les années précédentes, le sexe masculin, le sexe masculin était considéré supérieur au sexe féminin.
Yeah.
Et si nous amenons le contexte du pouvoir avec, où nous demander de travailler ensemble, où nous demander notre communauté de venir ensemble, les idées et le rôle féminin pour venir ensemble, en travailler pour l'intérêt commun. Est-ce que tu espères que sur les deux côtés, comment a été les réactions? Est-ce que le genre masculin a bien tenu le contexte ou le genre féminin? Il a bien tenu le contexte, tu peux nous aider.
Oui. Je peux te dire une chose. Moi, je travaille dans une organisation pour la promotion de la fille burundaise. Mais ça a été un grand problème de voir que les filles se mettent ensemble pour combattre sur la promotion de la fille burundaise. Donc, la réaction, c'est quoi? Donc, tout le monde suivait l'association. Auparavant, elle était, ah, ok. Donc, ça, c'est l'organisation donc, qui veut révolter les filles pour qu'ils puissent être supérieurs aux garçons. Donc, tu comprends la réaction des gens. Ça doit être la même chose que pour le moment. Mais quand même, pour le moment, à cause des associations pour les droits humains, pour donc l'orientation des filles, donc pour la promotion des filles, quand même, ça commence à venir dans la tête des gens, des hommes, que quand même, on réclame cette égalité seulement. Mais auparavant, on disait que nous sommes une association qui vient de révolter les filles. Or, c'est pas ça, mais c'est la réaction qui va se faire dans PowerWave. Yeah.
Merci pour ta contribution. And then in short summary, Alice was saying that, yes, in short, to our fellow English speakers, Alice was saying that this concept of power wave should start to be taught in our families. As we said also in the 3 days of the symposium, we said dialogues should start in our families. For in the previous years, our parents told us that boys are superior than us. They are stronger, they are mature, they are what and what, giving the superiority to our fellow brothers. And we were like, girls were intimidated by that concept. And when it comes with this concept of power wave, while we work together to achieving a common goal, reactions have been not good on both sides. But as Mama Ridia said, achieving gender equality is a process. You should not start today and think of realizing it today. It's a process. Each and everyone come with ideas, come playing his role towards achieving this gender equality agenda. And then Alisa said, slowly but slowly, with educating our community, convincing our parents on this concept of power wave, she thinks and has hope that we will achieve this gender equality. And that's all what she was saying in French.
Okay, thanks, Angel.
Bonjour, Paul, bonjour Alice. Il y a aussi Edem. Edem, il vient de MenEngage à Togo. Edem, est-ce que vous êtes là?
Oui, c'est bon.
Bonjour Edem.
Bonjour.
Pardon, si c'est possible que vous
bienvenue.
répondre à la même question comme Alice.
Je crois que c'est la question de... C'est ça? Vous êtes toujours à la question de...
Oui, je l'ai. OK. Tu peux... Donc, on va sur la deuxième question ou on commence sur la première question?
OK, on commence par rapport à la première question.
La première question.
Okay.
Et la première question, demander, et comment est-ce que tu entends le concept du pouvoir avec? Quelles sont des idées qui te viennent quand tu entends le concept du pouvoir avec? Est-ce que tu le considères important en réalisant le gender equality?
OK, merci. Ma première compréhension du pouvoir avec, c'est le lien que je fais avec Ubuntu, le concept d'Ubuntu.
Oui.
I am because you are. Je suis parce que tu es. Et donc, je ne suis pas fort. Je ne peux rien seul, si ce n'est avec toi, avec l'autre. Et donc, le pouvoir avec, ou bien le power with, pour moi, ça donne des termes comme l'inclusion. L'inclusion. Ça donne des termes comme le travail ensemble. la redistribution du pouvoir.
Mhm.
Le fait de rendre l'autre fort,
Oui.
comme moi. Et dans ce contexte où nous travaillons, dans ce contexte de gender equality, les gens l'ont déjà dit, ça dit que dans la société telle que structurée, telle que ça fonctionne aujourd'hui, il y a une partie de la population qui a le power on, qui a le power in, donc le pouvoir sur, le pouvoir en, et qui exprime ou bien qui manifeste ce pouvoir sur. Alors, le power with maintenant vient, c'est pour comment utiliser ce power, comment rendre les autres aussi à avoir le power in. Comment faire en sorte qu'avec les autres, on puisse exercer un power. Donc, pour qu'ensemble, en faisant quoi? En rassemblant les efforts, en rassemblant les énergies, en travaillant ensemble, qu'on se rende fort mutuellement et qu'on puisse atteindre, comment dire, la justice sociale qu'on cherche. Donc voilà un peu comment je comprends le power, donc le pouvoir avec aller ensemble et rendre les autres forts, que nous disposons des mêmes degrés de pouvoir en termes de décision, en termes d'opportunités, etc. Et c'est très important pour le travail de gender equality parce que tout n'est que question de pouvoir. Tout est question de pouvoir et comment rendre ce pouvoir, comment distribuer ce pouvoir, comment rendre les autres aussi forts pour qu'ensemble, on ait une société beaucoup plus forte, une société beaucoup plus équilibrée.
Merci, merci. Tu viens en dire 3 ou 4 choses. Et si tu montres que le concept du pouvoir avec, premièrement, est un symbole d'humanisme. Donc, je suis parce que tu es. Et je réalise ceci parce que tu as fait partie de mon succès. Et tu viens avec une autre chose du travail ensemble au bénéfice mutuel. Tu viens avec le concept qui dit rendre l'autre, oui, le travail ensemble pour réaliser la justice sociale. Merci, merci. Et notre deuxième question vient en te demandant, est-ce que tu peux nous conseiller d'utiliser ce concept de pouvoir avec pour progresser en réalisant le gender equality?
Ok. Pour moi, je crois que ceux qui, dans ce travail, ceux qui ont le power.
Translate first, maybe.
Oh, translate first. Okay. Thank you. And then,
yeah.
And then, pardon, they need to do a short translation. Then, and then come with 4 or 3 concepts. He said, firstly, power with concept is a humanitarian, like, it's a symbol of a human being. He said, it is linked to our theme of the Ubuntu Symposium, which is Ubuntu, meaning I am because you are. And then he said, working together with a common interest, working to achieving something together, we are putting forces, everyone coming with praying his law, each and everyone coming with his opinions, and we work together to achieving the gender equality. We also come with, yes, travail ensemble, working together for mutual interest. And coming with, he said in the last period, as men were privileged, but now we are in the process to achieving gender equality, they are understanding that the work together is better than giving, than assigning all the work to women or girls. And he said that rendre l'autre dans giving someone. If you have something and we share, yes, it's sharing. We share our ideas, we share our understanding on the gender equality, and we come up with a common understanding, and we come up with a common and tangible solution to achieving gender equality. And he also mentioned that working together in this concept power with will help in achieving social justice. And he said also we can use these concepts of power with toward achieving this gender equality, and he strongly recommended that it is important. This concept of power with is strongly important into achieving gender equality agenda. That's what he was saying.
Merci.
Et donc, nous pouvons continuer.
Oui. Donc, par rapport à la deuxième question, je crois que qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire en termes de stratégie, en termes de méthode de travail, en termes de...
Oui.
Pour atteindre, pour faire avancer l'égalité, je crois qu'il faut... c'est important qu'on arrive à une compréhension commune de l'empowerment. L'empowerment. On a besoin de rendre les autres forts. Donc, je reviens encore avec le mot de redistribution, de partage. Il faut céder le pouvoir. Il faut céder une marge du pouvoir. Il faut, comment dire, bon, si c'est l'expression anglaise, we need to empower women and girls.
Yeah.
Et là, obligatoirement, on doit partager, on doit céder l'espace de pouvoir. Donc, dans les rôles sociaux qui ont été attribués jusqu'à maintenant, il faut que ceux qui gèrent ces rôles, ceux qui aujourd'hui, comment dire, bénéficient des grandes marges de pouvoir dans ces rôles sociaux, aient une compréhension du besoin d'aller avec du power with. C'est ensemble qu'on est fort. Et quand il y a cette compréhension, donc, le travail doit nous amener à faire comprendre à ceux qui détiennent le pouvoir qu'il faut partager, qu'il faut céder le pouvoir, qu'il faut rendre les autres forts. Ça, c'est un. Deuxième aspect du travail, on doit, en le faisant maintenant, comment donner les pistes, comment, à travers les rôles sociaux, ce pouvoir-là, et on doit le manager par rapport à la redistribution du travail, par rapport aux opportunités, par rapport aux besoins de chacun. Comment les besoins de tout le monde doivent être fédérés, doivent être mis ensemble dans une cagnotte commune, dans une vase commune, et avoir des objectifs communs pour avancer. Si on comprend que le power with est la clé, est le chemin nécessaire pour une justice sociale. Parce que tant que les autres ne sont pas forts, et que certains seulement sont forts, et malheureusement la grande partie de ceux qui ne sont pas forts, c'est-à-dire constitue le plus important en termes de nombre de populations dans le monde, la société ne pourra jamais évoluer de façon telle qu'on le souhaite. Il n'y aura jamais la justice sociale parce que la grande majorité de la population n'a pas le power in, n'a pas le power on. Donc, le power with doit les amener à avoir le power in, le power on, pour que le power with maintenant nous pousse vers cette justice qu'on cherche.
Et dernièrement, si la question, on demandait comment est-ce que qui ont été des réactions si les mêmes parties féminines et parties masculines sur ce concept?
Non, pas qu'il
Hello, hello.
Allez. Je continue ou bien?
Oui, tu peux continuer. Je t'avais demandé quelle a été la réaction sur les mêmes parties, la partie masculine et la partie féminine, sur le concept de pouvoir avec.
Je crois que en observant ou bien au fur et à mesure qu'on avance, on remarque différentes sortes de réactions. Au niveau de la partie masculine, c'est normal et ça se voit. Bon, je crois que c'est un peu partout aussi. On sent dans un premier temps une certaine réticence due à l'incompréhension de là où on veut aller. Il y a une réticence. C'est évident aussi, c'est normal parce que quand quelqu'un a le pouvoir, ça se voit en politique en fait. Ceux qui ont le pouvoir, chacun a toujours du mal à laisser. Même si aujourd'hui on est dans le camp où on critique ce pouvoir, il suffit qu'on accède à ce pouvoir, personne ne veut lâcher en fait ce pouvoir. C'est partout, même dans les églises, partout, dans la société. Ça c'est clair. Donc on rencontre cette réticence due à la peur de perdre le pouvoir. Mais également, de l'autre côté, on voit certaines réactions qui sont favorables. Il y a des prédispositions, il y a des gens qui sont là naturellement, qui ont déjà cette conviction et qui accompagnent, qui rentrent dans la marche tout de suite. Donc, il y a une réaction favorable et positive par rapport au processus. Ça, c'est la partie masculine. Maintenant, au niveau féminin, malheureusement aussi, au niveau féminin, à cause du fait qu'on n'a pas compris, à cause du fait que depuis les siècles, on a été confinés dans des rôles sociaux, finalement, qui nous plaisent, c'est-à-dire qui plaisent aux gens féminins.
Regarding on their past resistance in understanding the concept, because they feared to lose their power, but in a community when we continue to educate people or to make people aware of this concept, it's a process where we achieve the gender equality agenda. And Paul, you are welcome. We can go to Emily.
Okay, thanks, Angie. I think Emily also referred to that in her first contribution when she mentioned something about the men putting up defense in reaction to the concept of a power way. To just continue, and so because we still have to take the respondents as well. And I see Hassan with a question, the chat box, we'll go to that. But let's look inward now. And let me start again with Mama Lydia. Looking inward now, we're talking about the men who are already involved in the pursuit for gender equality. The question is, how can they address their gender-based power? Mama Lydia, are you there?
Sorry, can you repeat it? I've left for my other meeting. My time was over for this meeting, but I'm in a car trying to get to my next meeting. This will be my last question to answer. Can you repeat and we try to see if the network will come when I'm in the car?
All right, it will be great to have this contribution from you. The question is, we are looking inward now. The men who are already involved in the pursuit for gender equality, how can they address their gender-based power?
Can you repeat that again, please? I was supposed to have left. I'm sorry, I still remain.
Okay, okay, I'll just take it again. I'm saying we are looking inward now. We're talking about involving men and boys. So let's look inward. The men in the house who are already involved in the struggle for gender equality, talking about the men now, how can they address their own gender-based power?
The only way that I think that this can happen is that by deliberately trying to understand where the problem was, understand what the power imbalance has caused in the lives of women and girls. And I think the best way that can happen is look inward at in their own lives, and seeing that what has happened in their lives, in their upbringing, in all the work that they do. How has this power affected the lives of women and girls who are around them, in their families, in their workplaces, in the society in the communities where they live? And the only way they can do that is to have a deliberate attempt to change attitude, to change behavior, to change social norms, to discuss amongst themselves how they can do it as a community of men and boys. And this is the only way that can happen. And to listen, have that listening ear, and ask, what is it that has happened? What are the effects of power being to women and girls around them? And I think this is the only way that they can do it. And also by reaching out to others. I think it should be a general discussion, because not all the men have expressed excessive power, but most men, that is the feeling that women have. And I think dialogue and discussion is the only way that this can happen. This is what I can say.
Thanks so much, Mama Lydia.
And I'm wishing you all a very happy Christmas. Wish you all happy Christmas and happy New Year and happy holidays.
We're wishing you the same too, Mama Lydia. I'd like to jump straight to Emily. Then we can have NJ do the French translation for both my brother from Togo, Idem, and Alice. Emily, now, the question is same, except with some little addition. We're looking at the men in house. How can they address their gender-based power? And in talking about that, also look at the challenges in engaging men and boys so far in the pursuit for gender equality.
Thank you once more, Paul. My response will be coming in looking at the issue of ego, which is one of the masculine traits that has a lot to play with power. With men that are already involved in gender equality issues and agenda, there is still a challenge when it comes to their ego, because though they give a space for women to be actively involved in processes, there's the ego that has a restraining force on it. Why do I say so? Practically, when we look at situations where women are leaders, take for instance at local communities where a woman is either a mayor or a CEO, most of the time when she wants to take decisions, and because she has men working with her or as her subordinates, you always have the ego issue playing forward, where decisions made will always be seen as putting down on the man, a woman not respecting her place as a woman, that no matter the title or office she holds, she will always remain a woman. And that is one of the things that is playing a lot with men that are already promoting the gender equality agenda or working on it. There's always that struggle with, should we freely give women the position to speak or take decisions or lead processes? And that is why I would always say that it's always good to tackle an issue from the problem. And this ego, one of the wise sayings is that if you leave people to lead in their positions or be who they are and excel in who they are, it doesn't make you a weakling. Because most men who see that when women are leading, they can be seen as a weaker man or a weak man because a woman is leading. In our communities nowadays, you see that even from the level of the family, it's women or mothers that are holding families together. But recognition is not given to them for these positions. So the contribution I want to make here is that men that are already engaged in these processes should be able to recognize the efforts that women are making. They should give credit to who credit is due. Because most of the successes that we see that women are spearheading it. And that is why we as feminists keep saying this. a successful man is not a woman. You don't see a successful man and say a woman is behind. A woman is beside or sometimes even in front. But then we have this very long, wise saying that has always said, behind every successful man, there is a woman. No. A woman must not be behind. Most often we see the women by the side, or most of the times even in front, but recognition is not given. Recognition is not given where you can say woman is the head of the family. And that is where we have these small struggles. So men that are already playing active role in this should be able to encourage women and give them recognition of the work that they do, recognize their efforts, recognize them for the good things that they bring into the team. Because when achievements are done, they should celebrate the woman who is doing the good work. They should celebrate the woman who is leading properly. They should celebrate the woman who is a good mayor, a good CEO, and not always think that it's supposed to be attributed to a man. Most often you see women doing a lot, but when they want to make the final report, they always put it behind a man because they believe that is a man that is supposed to be seen. And that is all linked to the ego. The ego is an issue. Then now when we come to the area of engaging boys and men in the processes. So engage men and boys in the processes means that we should give them the capacity as we develop women's capacity to take part in women's rights and gender equality. We also need to build the capacity of men and boys. Some of the programs we run, we go as low as to the primary schools to start teaching boys on why they should respect their fellow classmates who are girls and recognize them for what they are doing. Sometimes there was a time I even did a session. I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm at home and neighbors and everything. So there was an activity I did previously. I went to a school and I told the boys who were in that school that sometimes a girl might come up to you and say hello. The first thing you should think of is not that she wants to be your girlfriend or she's just a woman, and then the next thing is sex or relationships, but then always see a woman equally where she can be a sister, she can be a business partner, because that's another challenge that we face in local communities. We see in local communities where whenever a girl or a boy are trying to do activities together, people have the first concept that it's supposed to be not amicable or not professional. So we should be able to encourage girls to see themselves beyond just being sex toys or sex, like a woman's role is not just because she has to bear children, actually. So when women are able to reach out to people, they should also think that they can talk business, they can bring ideas, they should be able to give a space to grow and excel in what they do. So engaging men and boys is from the primary level right up to the position of decision making. In decision making processes, the challenge we also see is that even when men give space for women, the women are just there to sign papers and approve that there was a woman on the board, to sign papers and show off that there was a woman in the electoral committee or in the electoral list. But then the women that are there are supposed to have their capacities built so that they can contribute actively in the processes, contribute in the decision making, contribute in the programs development, contribute in the implementation of the programs, because these are all key in the development processes. So engaging men should be such that we give men the ideology that the woman is not just there to confirm that we have a woman on our list, but then to have women actively take roles that will lead to the change that we want to see. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emily, for that much said. You mentioned ego, which is a challenge, and you talked about the part of language. Behind a successful man is a woman, not behind. So that's also talking about the use of proper language, especially for the men who are already within. I would like to call in Anne Maria to bring in our French speakers to also share their perspective.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Alice and Adam. Maintenant que nous sommes en chemin, il y a les hommes et les garçons qui ont commencé et qui nous entendent et qui disent que aussi le sexe féminin a des droits et il travaille pour réaliser des droits du sexe féminin. Mais maintenant que nous sommes en travail ensemble, est-ce que vous pouvez nous aider en nous donnant qui peuvent être des moyens que le sexe masculin qui est en travail, qui est en chemin en réalisant le gender equality, qui peuvent être des moyens que ce sexe peut utiliser en réalisant le gender equality?
Alors, ok, je crois que je peux aller. Allô?
Alors, oui, Edem.
Ok. Je crois que les hommes et les garçons engagés dans ce travail, ce qui est important pour moi, premièrement, est qu'on fasse l'analyse, l'autocritique par rapport aux privilèges sociaux liés, c'est-à-dire privilèges de genre. Parce que, qu'on le veut ou pas, nous sommes des hommes, nous sommes des garçons. Nous bénéficions toujours de ces privilèges sociaux liés au fait d'être homme, liés au fait d'être garçon. Dans nos maisons, dans notre travail, dans la société, dans la rue, en passant. Donc, il faut que les hommes engagés dans ce travail fassent l'autocritique et arrivent à cerner, à comprendre, à voir ces privilèges-là de genre dont nous jouissons. Maintenant, si on les connaît, il faut que dans notre cheminement, dans notre marche, on fasse attention à ne plus comment dire, abuser, à ne plus se comporter dans ces rôles, dans ces privilèges sociaux comme tout autre homme, comme avant on le faisait. Il faut qu'on fasse un travail sur soi de perte ou bien de, comment l'appelle-t-on, d'arrangement de ces privilèges de genre. Donc, il y a un travail individuel à faire d'abord. Recenser les privilèges dont nous disposons, genre, et maintenant travailler à petit, comment l'appelle-t-on, perdre ces privilèges, accepter perdre ces privilèges. Il faut que les hommes engagés dans ce travail-là aussi acceptent de voir, comment dire, les femmes devant. Acceptent de voir les femmes devant, que le fait qu'une femme soit leader, que le fait qu'une femme soit devant, ait du pouvoir, ait des opportunités, ne nous fasse pas mal. Parce que ce serait contraire à notre travail. C'est ce qu'on cherche, qu'on accepte, qu'on fasse quoi? Qu'on fasse la publicité de ça, qu'on promeuve ça, que les femmes soient devant, que les femmes soient leaders. Et maintenant, dans nos comportements de tous les jours, et dans le langage que nous tenons, et les manières de faire de tous les jours, que ce langage et ce comportement soient en lien, c'est-à-dire conforme à ce que nous prêchons, à ce que nous faisons comme travail, à la conviction. C'est-à-dire, en réalité, il faut que le comportement et nos langages soient conformes à l'idéal, à la vision pour laquelle nous sommes engagés. Et voilà, donc, voilà quelques pistes à mon niveau pour que les hommes et les garçons qui sont engagés dans ce travail de gender equality doivent faire. Et maintenant aussi, accepter, c'est-à-dire accepter se départir de certaines pratiques sociales, de certaines pratiques culturelles, de certaines pratiques professionnelles et de certaines pratiques religieuses qui ne sont pas en lien avec les droits humains, qui ne sont pas conformes. Accepter de donner son opinion clairement là-dessus, accepter d'expliquer, d'amener les autres à comprendre, mais assumer, il faut qu'on assume notre position, notre positionnement là de homme engagé pour le gender equality. Merci.
Merci. Then in short, you were saying that working together is key. that men should understand this saying, putting female in front. As they have been marginalized, and now that they come up to understand their rights, men should understand that female have rights, female should be free. Yes, female should have freedom. And male also should come to a very clear understanding of this gender equality. And he also said that we should put our work together. Men who are already engaged in the process toward achieving gender equality, and also female activists who are working to achieving gender equality. They should put their work together toward, yes, achieving the common set goals and setting common objective that both parties should work to achieving. That's what he was saying. And est-ce que Alice, tu es présente ou pas? Paul, now that Alice seems like she's not online, we should go to the audience and have the questions, yes, from the respondents.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks so much,
Hello.
Gideon from Togo.
Hello.
Okay, Alice appears to be back. Alice, if you can just take a minute or two, that would be fantastic.
Yes, I'm here. I want to add two things only. Ce que je peux dire à ça, c'est que il y avait une approche qu'on appelle MenEngage Partners. Donc, c'est...
Come back. Come again. Approche appelée.
Men as partners. L'homme comme partenaire.
Oui.
C'est une approche vraiment qui amène un impact vraiment très positif. Donc, pour l'engagement des hommes sur la question d'égalité des genres. Donc, pour moi, si on a vraiment, même s'ils ne sont pas beaucoup, les hommes qui sont engagés, on peut utiliser cette approche et partager avec les autres hommes. Et si un homme voit un autre homme qui le partage cette information, donc ça va amplifier les voix des hommes pour cet engagement. Donc, c'est ça que je voulais dire. Il faut quand même prendre ce petit groupe des hommes et les impliquer vraiment très fortement pour qu'ils puissent partager avec les autres hommes parce que ça amplifie beaucoup les voix des hommes qui s'engagent. C'est ça que je voulais dire.
Merci, Alice. Alice was saying that there was an approach called Men as Partners, like men who are engaged in this, though it's a small group, it's going to be large. This group of men who are now engaged in achieving gender equality should convince their fellow men that working together with female activists should have an impactful change in behavioral change or attitude change to their fellow men, and they will come up with a good understanding of this gender equality. Then she was mentioning this approach of men as partners. That was she was adding.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Thanks so much, Alice, for bringing that in.
Thank you too.
We will be taking recommendations from our speakers, but before then, we would like to have our respondents come in. I have Jude, I have Ontla, I have Laura to also add to this discussion before we take recommendation from our speakers. Maybe I should start with Jude to just set the pace. Jude, can you please come in? You have any response, question, contributions?
Yes, hi Paul, thanks so much for giving me the floor to speak on this important issue. I think what the panelists have presented resonates with what MenEngage is about. How do we work with men and boys towards transforming the power that they have and towards gender justice for all. It's important to know that as we
Okay, I don't know that had happened, but we seem to have lost Jude.
Yes, I was saying that it's important to know that working with men and boys, it's not easy. We need to find creative ways to engage men and boys and on issues, on all issues. Again, the work that we do at MenEngage, we seem to be facing a lot of attacks and backlash to say men are taking up the space. But it's important that this discussion defines exactly what men should be doing in gender activism. Men should be working together with women rights organizations as partners towards achieving gender justice. So I think these are my contributions. The discussions have been very fruitful and kind of gives an overview of how we can work together to end the harmful traditional practices and gender inequalities that exist as a whole.
Well, thanks so much for that very apt contribution. Before our next respondent comes in, I'd like to read what Hassan left on the chat box, which is I find very interesting. It reads, "It doesn't help if men change as individuals, but the society laws and practice remain repressive of women and girls." I don't know if we understand that. What's the point if men change individually and when the society laws and practices remain repressive?
Yes, hi Paul.
So I don't know if anyone wants to respond to that.
Hi Paul, I can speak to that a little. This is Jude again. So yes, what Hassan has said is very important. That as we change, as men change, laws too also need to change. Because in every society, it's law that keeps a whole every society in place. So my comment would be that yes, it is important for men to change, but it's more important for these policies and laws to change. And that is the reason why engaging with men and boys for gender justice is very important. Because as men and boys engage, they understand the issues and can work together to advocate not just for behavioral change, but also for change in law. So, and change in law, changing policy, changing mindsets as a whole. So it's very important for men and boys to be engaged so they understand the issues and can join together to advocate for those change in laws.
Thanks so much. Let's hear from Ontla. If Ontla is still there, can we get your response?
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you to the panelists. It's been a really fruitful discussion. Mine is a question that I think any of the panelists can attend to. I wanted to find out if they feel that there are certain social structures that we could use in terms of promoting power with. Thank you.
Okay, for the benefit of all, if you can repeat that question very much clearly,
okay.
Then we can pass it, yes.
I was asking if there are any social structures that could be used to promote power with. Thank you.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Aunt Maria will be ready to take a response from one of our French speakers, and then we'll take a response from one of our English speakers. I'm sure Mama Lydia will be far away by now, so I'm just going to turn to Emily. Emily, please, can you take that up?
Okay, thank you, Paul. And Thanks for the question, Unger. Just like I'll give as a response is the social structures we can work with are already existing social structures. When I say existing ones, I mean like in our local communities, for instance, in our African context, we have existing groups like churches, we have existing groups like Jangi groups, as we call in Cameroon, or associations, community groups, we have political parties, we have the government structures that have already been put in place, and we also have, so we have them both as formal and informal sectors. So these social structures that are already existing, that have men as members, are where we have to start integrating to push for the power with concept and ideology. A practical example is what my organization does here in Cameroon. We work with men through football. So we partner with a veteran club and several other veteran clubs and groups across the city of Limbe. And for instance, for the 16 days of activism, we had a friendly match hosted. And after that friendly match, we went to their siège, that is their headquarters, where they meet on a weekly basis, and had in-depth conversations with them on gender-based violence, on the issue of engaging men in gender-based processes, in engaging men in gender equality, generation equality. And it was a very insightful conversation. We had men start bringing up different challenges that they're facing with their wives and girlfriends, what pushes them to the wall when we see issues of intimate partner violence, gender-based violence. And some of them were so excited to see that we came to them to talk to them about this, not going to the women groups as they always know. They kept saying that for what they've been experiencing, their women always come back with ideas of gender equality. I'm a woman, respect me. But they've never had anyone that could talk to them detailing about what all this is and how they can play a role in it. So we as feminists, as gender-based activists, have to start integrating into these small groups and bringing this whole conversation from that space, working with councils. Like we run projects where we train mayors, we train counselors on gender equality, on youth implementation in programs, respecting gender norms and quotas in their listing and candidate list or the electoral cottage. So this is important for us to start using these structures and finding these conversations as important topics to be discussed, because just us doing it amongst ourselves leaves the very much needed details and information within us. So we have to start working as systems change makers or systems change advocate from the grassroots right up to the policy level, where we have to push also through policy, we have to push also through advocacy, we have to also collect stories and then document the stories for future engagement.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, wow, thanks so very much. That's a lot of effort put in there, which also aligns with what Jude said, that we need to find creative ways of engaging men and boys to avoid the situation where they become defensive. Okay, I'm going to bring in Laura. And Maria is waiting to also engage our French speaking participants. But I'm going to bring in Laura to respond. Someone said on the chat box about the role of the family. I don't know if you have something to say about that, or question around that, or comments, but let's hear from you. Laura? Okay, I think we have lost contact with Laura. Ange Maria, you want to come in to engage our French-speaking participants? Yeah.
Yes. Strictement en allant vers Adam, je voudrais te demander la même question. Est-ce que avons-nous des structures sociales qui peuvent nous aider dans notre chemin de promouvoir le contexte et de pouvoir avec? dans votre société, dans votre pays, ou en me demandant aussi si dans mon pays, au Rwanda, si nous avons des structures sociales qui peuvent nous aider dans le chemin vers promouvoir le concept du pouvoir avec.
Ok, merci. D'abord, la première intervention, la dame, j'oublie un peu le nom. Oui, je suis d'accord avec tout ce qu'elle a listé, les institutions, etc. D'accord. Maintenant, venant à Francis, par rapport à de la famille. Donc, oui, effectivement, la première structure sociale qui peut nous amener à faire promouvoir le concept de power, c'est la famille. Parce que la famille, c'est le premier lieu de notre socialisation. C'est là qu'on acquiert les fondamentaux de la vie, de ce que nous allons faire dans la vie de l'homme. En famille, depuis le bas âge qu'on nous apprend, on fait ceci, on ne fait pas ceci, on dit ceci, on ne dit pas ceci, ou on pratique même ça. Donc, la famille, oui, la première structure sociale où on doit faire valoir, bien faire promouvoir le concept, les stratégies de power entre les jeunes garçons, les jeunes filles, les papas, mamans, etc. Donc, c'est pourquoi nous, dans notre travail, il faut toujours qu'on garde en vue les stratégies de counseling. Parce que ce n'est pas forcément les activités de grands groupes et autres, mais quand on veut aller au niveau familial, au noyau familial et autres, on doit garder en vue les stratégies de travail basées sur le counseling pour travailler en profondeur avec les gens, les familles, les papas, les enfants, etc. Donc oui, la famille, la première structure. Maintenant, en dehors de la famille, moi, chez nous, il y a des structures que je vois. Premièrement, les traditions. La tradition, les leaders traditionnels, ceux qui détiennent nos normes, les leaders communautaires, les leaders traditionnels. Dans chacun de nos pays, il y a des valeurs dans nos traditions. Il y a, en réalité, toutes nos traditions, c'est pas, c'est-à-dire, on ne doit jamais comprendre comme si nos traditions, nos cultures sont mauvaises, entièrement mauvaises, non. Il y a dans ces cultures, dans ces manières traditionnelles, des choses qui promeuvent la solidarité, qui promeuvent le power déjà. Parce que vous voyez, à l'époque, dans les anciens temps, pour construire les maisons aux gens, les maisons d'habitation, qu'est-ce que nos parents avaient? Il n'y avait pas les tâcherons, il n'y avait pas les musées, il n'y avait pas la division du travail comme aujourd'hui. Mais c'est ensemble, si on va faire une maison pour une seule personne, c'est tout le village, les hommes et autres qui se mobilisent pour chercher les bois, les pailles, etc., pour construire la maison pour M. X. Demain, on le fait pour M. Y. C'est ça le power. C'est ça le power. Donc, la solidarité, là, les valeurs solidaires, les valeurs d'aller ensemble existent dans nos traditions. On doit organiser nos leaders, on doit organiser des séances, des sessions de travail pour faire ressortir ces éléments positifs que nos traditions et cultures ont.
Bien.
Voilà. Et le troisième aspect, c'est la religion. Parce que ce sont les arguments qui sont souvent utilisés pour déconstruire ou bien faire blocage parfois pour ceux qui ne le savent pas, c'est-à-dire au travail de gender equality. Donc la religion, on doit travailler avec les leaders religieux et autres, c'est une autre structure sociale pour ressortir de la Bible, ressortir du Coran, ressortir de tout livre religieux qu'on utilise, les valeurs de power. Il y en a toujours. Et les faire promouvoir. Voilà, c'est ce que je peux dire.
Merci, merci. And then in short, he was saying that he came up with 3 structures. First, he said that the family is the source of information for each and every one of us. Yes, we know that when you're taught something at your younger age, you grow up with that understanding. You grow up with those culture norms that you've been taught. He strongly said that if you want to change power inequalities, we should go and start in our families. Second, he said that our cultural norms are not good. Giving example of his country, and also in our country, I can admit that they're not good.
Wow.
And then we have to change our cultural norms and beliefs and come up with a good understanding of this gender equality. I've heard that some and a good number of our population have a small understanding of what's gender equality, or what's gender equality or gender equity. Then we need to have more sessions. We have to come with dialogues. We have to come with big meetings of people from different corners and explain to them what gender equality is, what is gender, what can cause our community to better understand the gender equality as well as this concept of power with. And he said, lastly, that the religion, being Muslim, etc., it's someone's right, but having different religion beliefs doesn't mean that we are in a community, and a community must work together to giving people rights that they have to have. We have to change this, our religious beliefs, and yes, come with these religion leaders, and they should help play a great role to promoting this power with concept. Thank you.
Well, great. Thanks so much, Angie Maria. I don't know how much time we have left, but looking at what I have here, we have about 3-4 minutes left before it's 2 hours spent on this very important topic, and it's been very interesting, very robust, very insightful. Yes, we would like to take recommendations now, a minute apiece. And at this time, we would like to also hear from Francis, who I understand is in the house, a minute recommendation on taking gender equality forward in relation to the unequal power relations. I will begin with just 1 minute from Emily. Then I will go to Francis, and then Andre can come in to take our French speakers. Emily, a minute. Okay, we seem to have lost Emily there, but maybe we'll then move to Francis. Your recommendations.
Paul, sorry. Someone was
okay.
trying to call me.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
just a minute.
My recommendation is, as we have started this conversation virtually, we should also, as actors, continue to work together in like solidarity and collaboration to implement programs at the grassroots level. That's concrete programs. That's the recommendation I want to make for us to create solidarity and collaborate with each other to implement projects and programs that are concrete, that can be seen, and the impact can be seen as well.
Fantastic consistency there. Thank you very much. Is Francis today? We can have you, sir.
Hello. Hello, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, Francis.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. And I think this is a very interesting discussion. So in relation to my recommendation, what I think we need to do firstly is that as men, particularly all of us who have had the opportunity to be exposed to all of the different concepts, we need to see how we can internalize all of the concepts and serve as ambassadors.
Okay, we seem to have lost Francis.
I think people.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, I'm saying we as
okay. Francis, you're breaking. We can't hear you now at the moment, but I get the point that we need to internalize the concept.
Yes, because we know that once a woman is not feeling safe in her family, she won't feel safe anywhere in the world. So the first place to ensure that power with is demonstrated, I think we need to begin from the home. Once we ensure that the concept of power is understood, what is power? What does that mean to us? How do we ensure that our boys and girls
Okay, must be network issue.
who are growing in a how to share responsibility. We have a concept called men. You know, there are some men who are seen as gender champions, but in actual fact, they are in the background upholding the tradition and the norms that suppress women. So we need to see how we can deconstruct the concept of real men. Who is a real man? How does that impact the achievement of the full potential of the girl child and of the women? How can we make sure that we are more actual in what we do as compared to be just professing? We want to be seen as we are champion, but in actual fact, we are going by and upholding the tradition and norms that suppress the girl child and the women. So I am just saying, we need to find a way to see how men can be real in what they say, and that need to be filtered in our attitudes and behavior, and also in our workplaces and our family.
Thanks so much, Francis. That's very deep and very important. We need to internalize, and of course, the concept of power with cuts across both men and boys outside and men and boys inside, already working for gender equality. We all need to internalize this concept so we can achieve gender equality. I'd like to bring in Ange Maria to bring in our French speakers to also react in a minute, and then we can call in our host.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Je voudrais adresser ma parole à Edem. Est-ce qu'Edem, qu'est-ce que tu peux nous recommander? Quelles peuvent être tes recommandations?
Merci. Je crois que pour faire avancer ce travail de gender equality ou gender equality dans le contexte de power imbalance, il est important de nous focaliser sur le travail transformateur genre. De façon systématique, que nous arrivions, tous ceux qui travaillent dans ce secteur, à comprendre le travail transformateur genre, quels sont les éléments qui sont dedans, quelles sont les stratégies de transformation genre, et le promouvoir et le mettre en œuvre de façon systématique. Et il faut aussi qu'on ait le focus sur l'empowerment des femmes et des filles. Parce que c'est ça le défi. Il faut qu'on ait le focus dans notre travail sur l'empowerment, toute activité, toute action, tout projet que nous pouvons mener dans le secteur de gender equality doit aussi viser l'empowerment des femmes et des filles. Et maintenant, il ne faut pas oublier le travail à plusieurs niveaux. Comme l'autre l'avait dit, le niveau individuel, le niveau communautaire, le niveau institutionnel avec les institutions, mais aussi le niveau des lois, mais toujours garder en vue la question de la redistribution du pouvoir, de la transformation des normes et des relations de genre.
Oui. Yes, merci. Edem was saying that we should come up with 3 things. First, a transformative approach, which should include the community, the whole society in changing our cultural norms and beliefs. And we should also empower women and girls. And we should come up with something bigger than what we think, either on the community level, national level, the organizational level, and we come up with these approaches that empower women and girls. We come up with this transformative approach which change our culture, norms and beliefs so that we can work to achieve gender equality and balancing the power.
That's also very helpful. Thanks, Ange, for the translation, and thank you, Eden, for your contribution. It's been very interesting. I would like to take a last word from Ange before I come in and then bring in our host. Ange, I don't know if you have a minute to say something.
Yes, of course I have.
Yes,
I would
yes.
like to thank the audience and also our panelists for this time being together. And I do hope that if we compilate the ideas that came from each and everyone on this session, and we put them into practice in the respective countries, I say that, yes, we can achieve gender equality with this concept of power with. Thank you.
Yes, I agree very totally with you and Maria. We need to, imbibe this concept because it's very important to achieving gender equality. I also want to agree very strongly with the idea of beginning to socialize our children in a gender-sensitive manner, beginning from the family. That's also very important. And I want to thank all the panelists for your very insightful contributions and our respondents as well for bringing in their own questions and contributions. It's been a pleasure. This for me is a discovery of a sort, and is something we need to extend beyond now. Thank you everyone for being a part of this. I would like to invite our host now, who may want to say something or do an official closing of this session. Thank you. Jude, please.
Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for moderating this session. I think Josephine will do the official closing. But from my end, I want to thank all the respondents and panelists and all those who took our time to be on this regional roundtable for the Ubuntu Symposium. The discussions have been very fruitful, and where we hope that we'll continue to engage with you as we move push the Ubuntu Symposium further onto June of next year. Hi, Josie.
Hi. Thank you. Should I stop recording?
You can do concluding remarks before you stop recording.
Okay, I can't hear you, Jude. You're not so clear.
I'll say you can conclude before you stop recording.
Okay, so the speakers are supposed to conclude, right? The moderators.
Yes.
Yeah, so they can conclude. I'll continue recording.
They have concluded already, so we can.
Oh, okay. So if they concluded, then that's fine. Thank you so much, colleagues. I've paused the recording. Thank you so much.